Welcome Nirupa Fernandez, Head English and Exams and Project English in India and Sri Lanka. Nirupa, what does the English language mean to you as an individual and as a professional?
Okay, as an individual, for me, it's really meant the language of communication, because my mom is from Karnataka, my dad is from Tamil Nadu, so the only common language that we spoke at home was English. So it's meant really the language of communication. It's almost been a first language. Of course, given that my mother is an English professor and my dad is from Tamil Nadu, who was educated in the regional language, which is Tamil, my mother tongue actually became Tamil. So I do speak Tamil as well, but English is really almost the first language. Again, I married into a family from Kerala, so Malayalam was their language. So again, the common language of communication was English. Professionally, I think it's provided me with a lot of opportunities. It's meant that I've had the best education, schools, colleges, and I've felt that I've been able to advance in my career as a result of my proficiency with the language.
Given that kind of background, Nirupa, what do you think should the status of English be within the education framework in a country like India or even Sri Lanka?
Well, I think there's no debate about the fact that English has become a language that is required professionally by many. It's the language of opportunity. It's what people aspire to have. So English, as everybody has acknowledged, is here to stay, and we've got to accept that. It's the link language with the world. It's the language of the internet. You've got to accept that, and that has to then drive the decisions in India and Sri Lanka in terms of what role it plays. But it has to be accessible to everybody. As many people have been saying, David Gradall in his book and other speakers, the access to the language has to be available. And what may differ is the level of language that is required by various people for various jobs. But it's definitely the language that is here to stay.
So you are basically arguing for the fact that English should be promoted as for the masses rather than restricted to the classes.
Absolutely. I think the level of proficiency that is required by various people in various jobs and various professional strata would probably be different. But there's a minimum level of language proficiency that is required by the masses.
How does one make the jump from policy to practice in education sector, especially in the public sector in countries like India and Sri Lanka? It's been a real challenge for Project English itself.
Absolutely. I think one of the core areas that needs to be addressed is in terms of teacher education. I think the whole area of pre-service teacher training has to be addressed in a big way. We've got to equip teachers with the skills, because they are the people who make the difference. They are the people who can make the language accessible to the students. It's one thing to revise the curriculum and say you're going to introduce language English at class 1, but if the teachers are not equipped to teach it, then you're not really making the difference to the student. And I think teacher education is a big area that needs to be addressed. I mean, you've got to empower the teachers with the language that they need to teach it and with the methodology that they need to deliver it.
One of the very interesting phrases that we heard bandied about yesterday was, especially from the corporate sector, the demand for easily employable people and the demand on the state education to provide that kind of skills. We heard terms like ready-to-eat employees or plug-and-play employees. Do you necessarily agree with that? I mean, is the agenda for education not preparing people for life?
It is about preparing people for life, but when you prepare people for life, you are equipping them with the skills that they need to work in the corporate sector. And at the moment, I don't think education is preparing people for life, because what's happening is the whole rote learning mechanism that is being followed in schools, where people learn something, but don't really know how to apply it. So people, as you say, mug up something and focus on passing examinations. So I think there's a need to look at the whole examination system, the assessment system within the country, and review that with the aim of looking at developing people with the skills that they can apply. And if you achieve that, then in a way you're addressing what the corporate world needs, of having people with the skills that they need to work.
We started off Project English with the first policy dialogue in Chennai 2 years back. Now here we are in Delhi, the third policy dialogue 2 years on. From your perspective, Nirupa, tell us what are the significant milestones that Project English has achieved in this time?
Okay, I think we've come a long way since the first policy dialogue. We've delivered a huge number of projects in various states. For us, the big milestone was in terms of streamlining what was required by the state sector, identifying what was really required by the state sector. We found that each state is different and that we have to have a customized program for each state. And I think the experience of working with different states has given us a better understanding of what we can do to make a difference in the whole education framework within that state. The advantage that we have is also that working with the state sector and with the corporate sector gives us a good understanding of the needs and issues within each sector. So we've got an understanding of what the corporate sector needs, and we're able to use that knowledge and understanding when we devise programs, when we work with the state sector, and vice versa. So that's kind of been a really interesting relationship that we've had with both the sectors. I think the main milestones have been in the number of projects that we've delivered. Each policy dialogue, we have come a long way in debating various issues related to English language teaching and learning. We've been able to take those agendas forward with key policymakers. And of course, most recently, the setting up of the teaching center in Chennai has been another significant milestone. We're scheduled to roll out another 2 centers in Kolkata and Hyderabad, and I think those are the milestones of Project English.
Thank you, Nirupa. Thank you for being with us.